Welcome back, everyone, to Champion Your Life with me, Leighanne. It's great to have you all here. Okay, I'm kind of excited. Today's topic, self-confidence. And this is a really important one, as having self-confidence helps us just to feel ready, right? For all of life's experience, what's going to come our way. So many people I've spoken to believe that you either have self-confidence or you don't. But what I really want to teach you today is that we are not born with self-confidence, but in fact, we can grow it and we can improve upon it, which most people are very excited to hear. So I believe knowing this is a real game changer. When researching the actual definitions of self-confidence, I love doing that. The one that resonated with me the most was this. It's pretty simple, but good. Self-confidence is learning to be secure in yourself and your abilities. Makes sense, right? Learning to be secure in yourself and your abilities. Now, if I was to take it just a step further, I would add that it's the ability to trust yourself and to believe in your capability. And it's also knowing that you can experience any emotion, including failure, without being harmed. So these are some of the ingredients that are part of the mix to achieving self-confidence. And today I'm excited to break down these ingredients together. So let's start with this: the ability to trust yourself. The ability to trust yourself. Again, we aren't born with self-confidence. We learn it over time. But how do we do that? A couple different ways. And this first one may be a little surprising to you. But to start with, we do it by keeping our word to ourselves and doing what we say we'll do. For example, if you make a plan, you're going to follow through with your plan. Say you've been delaying paying your taxes, and you say to yourself, I'm going to accomplish that this week, and then you'll keep your word, you'll get to it, and you will get it done. And just as people will judge you based on whether or not you keep your word to others, you also need to keep your word to yourself for your own well-being. You know, for example, if you're constantly setting intentions for change, but you don't follow through on them, you'll eventually not believe in your own abilities to achieve your goals and intentions. And if the truth be told, most of us have a long, long history of broken promises to ourselves. For example, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to go to the gym this week. You know what? This week, I'm going to organize those finances. Well, I'm going to only drink one drink. Oh, I'm going to reach out to that person I've been, meaning to. Or I'm going to declutter my house. Or, you know what? It's time I'm going to learn time management skills. You get the drift. We've all done this. So there's no need to beat ourselves up. But the truth is, keeping your own promises show that you respect and consider yourself as important as the promises you make to other people. For example, talking about myself here, if you decide to go on a no sugar diet, avoiding all foods with sugar because you haven't been feeling that great, this decision was made for yourself that I've made for me is every bit as important as saying that you'll meet your friend for lunch. But it's interesting, we rarely think of it this way. We often put ourselves last. Our unconscious minds are what keeps us in the same continual patterns and habits, if you will. And if you are continuously not following through on your word to yourself, then your unconscious mind does not take you seriously and will just sort of offer you the same old way of following through on your word, which oftentimes is doing absolutely nothing, right? So we really do need to set intentions weekly that you plan on keeping or following through on you that are strictly for you. Then you will need to be proactive and do what you said. even when you don't feel like doing it. So this is actually quite different from saying you'll do something and then hope that you'll follow through. Oh, well, maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. We'll see. But it's so interesting. When we do that, self-doubt, wow, it creeps in immediately, which is the complete opposite of self-confidence, right? So we need to follow through. We need to honor ourselves. We must learn to have our own backs. One of my favorite quotes from Wayne Dyer is this: I just want to be better than I was yesterday. I just want to be better than I was yesterday. I think that's just such a great quote. It speaks such truth to me because you know what? Time is precious and irreversible. And I think we need to keep this in mind. We need to continually challenge ourselves to improve in all the areas of our lives, both personally and professionally. And it all starts from within. It's an inside job. First, we actually need to be honest and look at ourselves in the mirror and see what's going on in there. And then take the time to reflect, refine, and reboot. Now, the next thing I want you to remember with regards to building self-confidence is knowing that you can experience any emotion. Don't you love her? Knowing that you can experience any emotion. So what does this mean? Self-confidence is really all about being able to handle our emotions. And most of us spend so much time in self-doubt because we really don't believe that we can handle the emotions and the experiences that come our way. But despite our deepest fears of somehow being permanently damaged in life, what most people don't realize is that there truly is no emotion that we can't learn to feel and process all the way through just to get to the other side. And when we are willing to experience any emotion, fear, anxiety, doubt, when we understand that the worst that can happen to us is just an emotion and that we can handle it, when we truly, finally understand this, we will then be flooded with self-confidence. It's so interesting to me that God has wired us to feel. He created us in this way to experience life fully. And yet, we are incredibly resistant to doing so. But you know what? When we do decide to feel fully, it just kind of takes the risk out of everything and gives us this, oh, wait, I see this. I see what's going on here. I got this kind of attitude, right? Self-confidence that we can get through the 50-50 of life, the good and the bad. Now, the next thing I want you to consider when it comes to your self-confidence is very important. It is your opinion of you. Yes, your opinion of you. And what we think of ourselves is what increases or depletes our self-confidence. And all of our feelings are going to come from our thinking. So the way we decide to think about ourselves will determine whether or not we feel confident. A self-confident person is going to think that they are capable and worthy. They're going to know intuitively that they are competent and strong. Now, I want you all to notice that it doesn't have to be proven or true yet. And you might be thinking, what do you mean by that? Well, I'm going to tell you a story of myself right now. I'm writing a course which will be going up on mastermind.com soon, which is Tony Robbins and Dean Graziano's platform. And I've been working on it a long time. Now, do I know for sure how this will be received? I don't, but I am believing ahead of time that it will be amazing and it will be a beautiful offering for people who need it or want it. Now, can you see that I have made the conscious decision to believe in myself, self-confidence, if you will, and I followed through with a promise I made to myself, a dream that I had to execute this course. And also, I want you to notice right here that self-confidence in the story that I'm sharing with you, self-confidence is a feeling that creates a result in your life. And what's really interesting is things don't have to be going perfectly in order to create that feeling. Very important. Now, some of you may be asking yourself, well, wait a minute, Leighanne, this sounds a little bit like arrogance. It's not at all. Because arrogance is when we think we are better than someone else, and then we go out and try and prove it. But an arrogant person is always trying to achieve a higher opinion of themselves by comparing themselves to others. And ironically, arrogance usually comes from a lack of self-confidence. Interesting to note, right? But when someone has genuine self-confidence, they understand and they see that all human beings are amazing and have unique potential. They don't need to or even desire to put others down. Self-confidence tells us that we are capable and that we can handle all the emotions that come up. And self-confidence also gives us this wonderful feeling of, for the lack of a better word, abundance, right? Abundance in our lives, a deep, deep satisfaction. So now we really have to ask ourselves, why is self-confidence seemingly so elusive? I hear that a lot from people. Why is it so hard to get there? So many of us say, well, I'm not that self-confident. Well, I believe I've really given this a lot of thought. I believe it's because we don't trust ourselves. We don't know how to manage our minds. This is why I'm so passionate about teaching you all of these things. So often we feel out of control. And this leads us to letting ourselves down and putting ourselves down on a consistent basis. This undermines our ability to trust ourselves and stay in the integrity that so many of us desire. And, we're pretty afraid of feeling our emotions. We don't want those negative ones. So we do our level best to hide and avoid them. So what does this do? This leaves us scared and unwilling to do anything that has any kind of risk of failure. We as human beings are so funny because we're always questioning our ability, because in our minds, we have to do things perfectly or we're going to have a negative emotion. Oh no. So it's a long way of saying, as a result, often our opinion of ourselves is very low. We don't spend a lot of time thinking highly of ourselves and encouraging ourselves. And I really believe with all my heart, we need to change that up. Before we go for a quick break, I just want to say self-confidence means giving yourself permission to pursue what you most desire in life. Self-confidence is this internal feeling that you exude, and when you have it, people are naturally attracted to it. It's learning how to be your own best friend and your own biggest source of courage and determination. And I believe self-confidence is really a superpower. And once you begin to believe in yourself, that is when the magic begins to happen. We're just going to go for a quick break here. But when we come back, we're going to talk about how we can increase our self-confidence. You're going to love this section. We'll be right back. Hi, we are back and we are talking all about self-confidence and how we can begin to increase it in all the areas of our life. Such an important topic. Now, I want you all to consider this statement. Thinking thoughts that create confidence and believing them is a skill. Thinking thoughts that create confidence and believing them is a skill. It's fascinating to realize that the majority of our old beliefs are just recycled old friends, or in reality, old enemies, because we don't even realize how much self-doubt, worry, and anxiety our beliefs produce because, you know what? We've always thought this way. It's become so familiar that they're strangely ingrained and comfortable in their predictability. But we never stop to consider the damage that they are doing. Now, here's some familiar phrases, some examples, if you will, of some thoughts that you might have been hanging on to. I hear a lot of these in my coaching practice. Some I think we just need to kick to the curb. Failure is weakness. Oh, that's a helpful thought. Well, Leighanne, I've just never done it before. Or, well, you know what? The less risk I take, the better off I am. Well, confidence is just something you have or you don't. Or this one's one of my favorites. Confident people are always comfortable and never afraid. Wrong. Rejection. Rejection will destroy me. I think we need to get rid of that thought. And this one really has killed me. I hear this a lot, especially with my creatives. I am not talented enough. Let's try to flip some of these beliefs that have been with us for far too long, okay? So let's start with failure is weakness. How about we flip that to failure is just the opportunity to grow, right? I've never done it before. Why don't we flip that to, you know what? I'm really excited. I'm learning how to do this. The confidence, Leighanne, that's either something you have or you don't. Well, today you've learned that's not true. Confidence comes from practiced self-belief. And you have to be certain about yourself in all of your amazingness. And I want to add, you must recognize that to believe in yourself also means to forgive yourself and let go of the moments where you may have fallen short. I mean, has there ever been in the history of humankind a human being who's led a failureless life? If anything, failure is the only tried and true path toward success. Really. Wow. I mean, if you can internalize that, there will be no stopping you. I mean, let's look at Thomas Edison for a minute. It took him 1,000 attempts before he created a light bulb. Can you see how making mistakes can be your vehicle towards your dreams? And failure is like actually just the wrong word in general, and something that Edison acknowledged. He said he didn't actually fail 1,000 times, but he figured out 1,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. Can you see how that flip changed his self-belief and confidence? And have you ever noticed too that self-confident people have no problem, zero problem admitting when they don't know something? And I just love that. I appreciate that so much. When they don't have the answer or when they fail, they'll happily tell you all about it because they realize it's all part of their growth. And when you have more self-confidence, just amazing things begin to happen. You'll want to just all of a sudden you want to believe beyond your current capability. You're going to be wanting to set goals. You'll take more and more uncomfortable action. You'll reach out to more people. You'll achieve more. You're going to be living into your future. And again, I want you to remember, it's so important. Self-confidence is a practiced skill, a practiced self-belief. You want to be certain about yourself and grateful for how God has wired you in all of your unique, amazing gifts and qualities. So let's just talk for a moment about how we can increase our self-confidence. You can increase it by imagining and dreaming and writing down all about the new possibilities of your future. I want you to start to dream about your future self, the goals you want to accomplish, the areas in which you're excited to grow. Because the more certain you are of the possibilities, the more confidence you will have moving forward with them. Can you imagine not being afraid to fail? Can you imagine not being afraid of disappointment? I want you to imagine your life if you were willing to feel both of those emotions without resistance. Our brains, however, do not produce self-confidence naturally. Instead, it loves to produce fear, worry, and doubt, because that's from our primal caveman days. So because of that, what are we up against? Well, we're up against being human, our programming since birth, our creative, extraordinary limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves, and our thought life. I know you've heard me say it many times, but it always goes back to our thoughts, doesn't it? We cannot forget that we get to choose what we think. Now, I want to leave you today with some examples of thoughts that can really produce self-confidence. Here are some thoughts to adopt, and these are so good. I think you might want to screenshot if you have a phone nearby. Thoughts to adopt. Okay, number one, fear. Fear is no big deal. Number two, my potential is limitless. Number three, what others think of me is 100% about them. Failure equals growth. Worry only pretends to be necessary. Number six, I have my own back. And number seven, I was made for this. We have to learn to train our brains to choose self-confident thoughts. You know what I want to say, and I really want you to hear me here. Fear doesn't prevent self-confidence, but guess what does? Feeling fear and never being able to let go of it. That's what prevents self-confidence. You see, we need to learn to acknowledge our fears, our anxiety, process them, see them through, and then we will be able to understand it's just an emotion. I want to tell you, I wake up every morning with a low-grade anxiety. I've noticed this about myself for years and years. Something I've noticed, and I usually just say, hey, anxiety, my old friend, I don't think I'm going to be needing you today. And you know what? This is such great news, because I know that discomfort and anxiety isn't going to kill me. They're just feelings, vibrations in the body that we all experience. And we really don't want to give them more power than they deserve. Being willing to feel them and experience them and process them through and then let them go, that That right there, my friends, is the key. This precious time on earth could be over before we know it, and we just might as well decide to show up to our own lives with some self-confidence. Imagine what you could do. You've been listening to Champion Your Life, and remember what I always say, we have just one precious life. Let's get to the work of it. Check me out on my website, LeighhanneChampionCoaching.com, or just type in Champion Your Life. Thank you for joining me, and Godspeed.
Thank you for listening to Champion Your Life with me, Leighanne Champion, on TransformationTalkRadio.com. To find out more about me and my coaching platform, visit ChampionYourLife.com. That's ChampionYourLife.com. You have one precious life. Let's live it to your fullest potential. Let's go. Let's do this together. See you next time.